I think I've lost my clip. Where'd it go?
Oh, no. Hang on a minute.
Oh, no.
Everything's missing.
Yeah, where's everything at? Hasbro, did he take control when he tried to share that picture?
Hang on a second. Sorry about this, guys and girls.
Technical difficulty.
The banners are there. Everything's looking the same except for the media. And hang on, let me see if I can. All the custom stuff's totally missing off media. Oh boy. Don't know what happened.
Proceed without our fancy little intro.
Okay. It clicked up top. Somebody clicked the wrong button. It had been me or you or Moondog. So anyway, here you go.
Oh. All right, welcome back to the second episode of Let's Talk Benchrest with Kentucky Rimfire and Hobbies. Sorry about that little technical error there, guys. I thought I had that already and then it went away. So let me hurry up and get the guys in the green room brought out. First up, we have Justin here from my area, Justin Lowe in Kentucky, and we'll bring him on and he can tell us a little bit about his week.
Hello,
Justin?
guys. Glad to be here tonight to discuss pretty cool topics. Maybe take a deep dive into something hopefully bring up something that will help you guys out.
Some pretty interesting stuff tonight, and a lot of knowledge coming to the table. So, um, next up, we got Hasbro.
Hey guys, how are you this evening?
We're doing good. How are you? How's your week
Good,
been?
good to be with you all again. Looking forward to this show. Got some good topics I think coming up, and we'll try not to talk too much about each one.
All right, moving right along. We got Mike from Long Rifle.
Evening, everyone. Nice to see you all again. Glad to be here.
What's the weather over there? Is it as good as it is here in Kentucky?
It is gorgeous. It was sunny all day. Turned the heater off this morning. Opened up the all the windows and stuff. Might actually sleep with the windows open and the heater off tonight. It was 76 when I was driving home. The evening news at dinner said it was 75 for a high at the Minneapolis airport. So
Awesome. I got out and shot today and shot in a short sleeve shirt. It was really nice.
yeah.
So, up next, we got American Hillbilly up.
Hey, buddy. Oh, good to see y'all tonight. Man, it has been windy here. Blew in some storms and stuff earlier, and just the last couple of days, actually 3 days, just been so windy that you just it wouldn't have done much good to go outside and try to shoot. I don't think the wind could even help my shots, So, anyway, looking forward to tonight. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for being here. I need you for technical support. And we got one more in the green room. I had two more invites, but one of them hasn't showed. Maybe they'll show up a little later. But lastly, in the green room, we got George from Southern Rifle. George, how are you, buddy?
Doing okay, man. How are y'all doing?
Okay.
Ask you how your weather is because you're right here in the same great state of Kentucky. So, have you got any shooting done this week?
Buddy, I missed a chance to shoot a little this morning, but this afternoon the wind just got so bad there just wasn't no way. I've got some target from Country Rimfire over here to do. I haven't done those yet.
Some calm weather this morning. I got a good shoot in with the Bagara. I already posted that video, and then we shot a few rounds of trap this evening. Me and Justin did, and we're just getting in from shooting trap, and we're going to go ahead and get started with this show. So this week's topic, we're going to start off talking about cleaning and cleaning processes. So we'll go around the room, and each person will talk a little bit about their process. But first thing I want to talk about is clean or not to clean. And when I say clean or not to clean, are you the type that cleans between every match? Do you clean between every shooting session, or do you wait until the gun starts shooting horrible and clean it up and foul it again and start all over? So we'll go around the room, and Hillbilly, how about you? What do? You clean or not clean?
I only clean if it starts shooting bad, myself personally. Might just be lazy. I don't know. But yeah, now it also, I assume you're talking just rimfire, right?
Yeah. Oh, it can be any Benchrest rifle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's something that I know, I'm going to put up for a while and not get back out, I'll definitely, give it a little cleaning and stuff. But yeah, other than that, I kind of wait till it starts, giving me a little bit of problems, and then I'll clean it. But might not be the best advice.
What about you, Justin?
For the most part, I clean my rimfires in between each card that I shoot.
So you shoot some center fire too. Do you shoot? Do you clean after every session? Like when you go to the range and practice, you go home and clean it up thoroughly, or you just wait till it starts fouling out?
If depends on the gun, if it's a new gun like barrel break in, I'll have a strict cleaning regiment for breaking in a barrel. But most centerfire stuff, if I'm doing load development, I may clean between different types of powder or something like that. But depends on the rifle. If it's a precision rifle, I tend to clean more than I would, a hunting rifle
Yep.
or like a sporter weight.
All right, we'll jump down to you, Hasbro. What about you? You clean or not clean?
Depends. I shoot so many different things. When I shot competitive muzzleloading, I used to clean between every shot. And then I started making my own moose milk, which is this machinist oil, water soluble machinist oil and soap done. And then I only had to clean about every 5. So that one thing. But in rimfire, I only clean either if I'm coming up on a match and I have more than 100 rounds, I'll at least dry patch it. I'll wipe the bolt down if it's bolt action. If it's one of my semi-autos, though, I'll take that bolt out and clean the back end of that thing because I don't want reliability issues. But I do the same thing in the barrel, just a couple of dry patches, at most one solvent patch. But my center fires are a different thing because of copper. And I've seen several times, especially on the bolt action, like my 308F class and my 6.5 Creedmoor, copper makes a big difference. So, after 80, 100 rounds, I do a really deep clean, getting copper out of it. So that takes a while.
Yep. Mike, what about you?
If it's a bolt action rifle, and I'm kind of with like what Justin said, it depends on a few things. So, like, if it's new and I'm doing low development or breaking in, it's kind of all over the board what I do. But once I know I've got something dialed, I don't clean. It can be, if it's a rimfire, it could be a brick, 2 bricks of ammo before I give it a real clean. Now, every time I come back home, if I am out just shooting challenge targets or something, and I put 150 rounds through it, I come home, I run 2 wet patches through it, and I put it away. I take a look at the bolt reliability issues and things that may be a concern, but as far as like getting deep into the bore, I don't. I'm the same way with my centerfire rifles. Until the group starts opening up or something, I just leave it alone. I ignore what the bore looks like on the inside.
George, what about you?
Kind of the same way. I don't. If it's a center fire, depending on the caliber, really. If it's a PPC, 30 BR, BR, either one. If I'm shooting Benchrest, every card I'll clean between every card. 22s, the 2 main guns, the Kimber, I'll clean it about every brick. The Anschutz is a little more picky. You have to run patches through it at least every couple of 100 rounds, or it'll start. It'll tell you when it's ready, but it's usually about every couple of 100 rounds.
So,
I found I had issues with the Anschutz bolt heads.
The bolt heads. Oh, bolt heads being dirty, you mean?
Well, yeah. The couple of Anschutz I had, it was issues with a little bit of rim copper or whatever starting to build up in that crevice for the cartridge head would build up there, and it would be just enough to throw the daggum timing off on it. I had some issues where I was like bought some guns. I was like, oh man, I got screwed. It's a bad bolt or whatever. Someone turned me onto that. I started keeping those clean, and it was a particular thing to those bolts, I guess. But that was just what I found.
Yeah, I haven't had any problem with it, but I'm pretty good about cleaning the bolt though. So It could be a thing. You know?
So I've been guilty of being the lazy one. If my gun's shooting good, then I don't give it a deep clean. I might clean the chamber, um, just to make sure I don't get a carbon ring built up, and then I'll run a dry patch down the barrel. But as far as a thorough clean, I'm guilty of not doing that. But if you watch my video that I released today of the Bagara BMRX, I sat here this morning and probably ran 20 patches through that barrel, and I scrubbed it and scrubbed it and scrubbed it until I got the patches was totally clean. Um, I knew that the gun liked Lapua ammo, so when I went back to the range with the gun totally clean, and I also ran a bore scope through it and looked at the chamber and the bore and everything. I started that video shooting pistol OSP, and I did not take a practice shot. I didn't take a Fowler shot or anything, and that gun hammered out a great group. And then I moved on to a different ammo, which was Center X, and again it hammered out a great group. Then I went on to SK Pistol Match Special, and again shot a stellar 10-shot group. So the Bagara needed to be cleaned because I was starting to wonder about the accuracy of it. It was starting to fall off. Um, and so I'm going to try to do better this year about deep cleaning my rifles and see if that helps me uh, in being consistent.
My problem with
So,
rimfire, especially, is that it'll cost me another 10 or 15 rounds, to foul it back in. And so it's kind of like when I'm shooting, especially my CZ with a Lilzer barrel on it, unless I'm out of Ely 10X, nothing else goes down that bore but either match or 10X or something like that, right? And then if I'm shooting in Lapua range, it'll be all Lapua, trying to keep the lubes the same. But otherwise, yeah, it's, hey, it's 20, shoot Midas Plus is what, $28 a box, and you're going to waste, a third of it to refoul in. So maybe I'm just cheap.
Real quick, I see Rimfire Dave in the side chat, and I've made comments on his videos trying to get him to email me so I could get him on this panel. Rimfire Dave, anytime you want to email me there, my email is toyotachat@outlook.com, and I'd love to have you sitting on this panel because I know you could share some valuable knowledge with us. Love to have you on here, buddy. So, moving on, um, my second question is, what is your cleaning process and how often? Um, so I think we may have touched on that, uh, in talking about cleaning or not to clean. So we'll move on to our first bullet point, and that is, what type of cleaning rod do you like to use when you're cleaning your rifle? And I know some of you in the side chat are going to think that this is repetitive because I just came from Georgia Shooting Connection, and they were also talking cleaning processes. So we may be covering some topics twice here tonight because of those two shows, but it's okay. Hillbilly, what kind of cleaning rod you use? And don't tell me it's a hickory stick.
Oh, definitely a hickory stick. You can carve one for each caliber. Oh boy. I still have like an old set I had for years and years. I got from a youngster, and it still works. I got a couple other newer sets of cleaning rods. But I have a Tipton, and I use that a lot. Now I also, depending on what rifle it is, semi-automatic or whatever. If I'm just going to give it a quick swab and this and that, I do like the the corded kind, that you can shove through and get out the side, put your patch in and stuff, and then the handles will spin on it, so you pull your stuff through. It just seems to me those are a little bit easier, especially if you want to do just a quick job. But yeah, it depends. If it's a pistol, whatever it is, definitely on what I use. But
Justin, what about you?
I prefer a Dewey rod for anything bolt action, or that you can clean from the breech end of the rifle. On semi-autos, I think the patchworm's pretty neat. It allows you to clean from the breech to the muzzle. And like a bore snake, using the same thing, contaminating, pull them back through time after time until you eventually throw it away. But the patchworm, you're actually using a patch, so I think it's pretty neat.
What about Hasbro? What kind of cleaner rods do you use, buddy?
D, all the above. I have hickories. I have hickories on my muzzleloaders, but they're just for show. I don't use that unless I'm in the woods. I have tipped and carbon ones. Been pretty happy with those. I have Pro Shot stainless. I've had those for years. They've been bulletproof. I do use bore snakes, like on the 1022s. If I'm not taking it, I don't like to take them out of the chassis. Right. Once I get them torqued and they're really shooting good, I try not to disturb that unless I have to. So that's the kind of thing there. But yeah, kind of D all the above. I use a different method for different rifles, but my bolt action will be the carbon rods or the stainless Pro Shots. One thing, I will tell you one thing, never ever do. And this has me kind of worried about the carbon rods, and I kind of watch this. I'm old enough to know in the late 70s and early 80s, the big thing in muzzleloading was fiberglass rods, right? Everybody had to have fiberglass rod. And they would abrade the edges and people wouldn't know it, and it'd tear your rifling up like crazy. And there were a lot of barrels ruined by that. Carbon's the same way. You get through that plastic skin, that carbon is very abrasive. So I'm kind of on the fence about those, but I use them carefully.
So I see Tommy Boy and Rustic Rimfire says, Tommy Boy says every 100 rounds. So Rustic Rimfire says every 100, 150 rounds. So that's the interesting thing about cleaning is not one person does it the same. So it's everybody has different processes. So we're not claiming to be professionals here. We're just kind of talking about what works for us. And Mike, what do you use for cleaning rods, or do you use
Kind of.
snakes or?
I use rods. I used Pro Shots for a number of years, and then I started using a Dewey rod instead for my bolt actions. And kind of down that same boat with semi-autos and stuff that or if I don't want to change a cheek comb on something that I have to do to remove a bolt or whatever, then I run a snake product through it. But I use something that I'll bet nobody on this channel's ever heard of. It's called the Gun Mouse, and the it's a bore snake, but this is something that a friend of mine made about 10 years ago, and he refused to sell it, the idea to Birchwood Casey, when they tried to buy it out before the boar snake came out. And it's not like what you're used to seeing otherwise. This is essentially Brillo pad material, like your kitchen Brillo pad. All right. That the cord goes all the way through it, and it's stitched and woven in. And it took a lot of experimenting and finding people that could stitch it for them the right way so it would stay on. I have got years worth of cleaning on these, especially when I was shooting a lot of ARs with 223s and pulling it through. And the beauty is, it's just like a kitchen product. I can take it into the laundry room. I can put a little bit of Dawn laundry soap on it, scrub it all up, take it outside, spin it around, and it looks just this green again. This is my 30 caliber one, and I've had this for probably 4 years. So it's an interesting product. It's called the Gun Mouse, and I can tell people if they're interested how to find it. It's kind of hard to find now. He did eventually sell it. Someone else has it, but they're same manufacturing process. So
That's
Pretty
cool.
cool.
I've never seen that before.
yep.
So,
Yeah,
and that's what this show's about. Some stuff's going to come out that we're going to learn stuff from each other. There's products out there we probably don't know about, and then there's
I
products out there that we all use. So,
and the thing is, and I'll try and keep it short, but it's a funny story. This guy's a big shotgun shooter, and him and one of his trap buddies were sitting out after shooting trap with the guys one day, and then they go over to the clubhouse and they fire up the grill, and they look down at the grill and how dirty the grill is, and after a few beers, they're sitting there thinking about that grill brush with the abrasive stuff on the back side of it, and that's what started the conversation, and they started making these for shotguns. And eventually, once they had the shotgun perfected for the various shotgun bores, they started scaling it down to everything. And now it's everything from a 17 HMR up to a 50 BMG that you can buy this in. So
Is that material Scotch Brite? Is that basically what that is?
it's basically what it is. I can't think of what the proper name is, but it's not like the Scotch Brite. I remember my mom had something that was made out of this material that was like a sponge when I was a kid, and you stuck it in this frog's mouth on the kitchen sink. People probably remember that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But that's what the material was. And we washed the dishes in that house with that ball my entire life as far as I could remember. It wasn't like today where you throw the Scotch Brite and sponge pad away. You use that thing forever because it would wash out and would be clean again afterwards. And that's what got them thinking about using this material. But yeah, if anybody's interested in more in it, you can.
Is it that stuff, Mike? The plastic version of it?
I honestly, I don't know. I guess I could find out.
I'm just curious. I'm not trying to make it, but
Yep.
Because that stuff would be great. I'd be worried about the metal version of it, but that stuff would be awesome because it does last.
Yep, and he learned his lessons on some things too. With that, let me get off this because otherwise I'll keep ranting and raving. Sorry.
You're all right. R4 says he has the frog mouth by his sink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what about you over there, George?
Well, the only time I ever used like a bore snake or anything like that was when I was shooting trap. It worked pretty good for that. That little thing that Mike's got right there would have been ideal for that, for sure. Because I hated that little brush deal that was on it. As far as rods go, I use Dewey.
Rods.
I've got 17, a 270, and a 6mm, and that covers everything I do. The 17 I even use on the Kimber every now and then, depending on where I'm at. I had to use it today because I couldn't find my bore guide, so I used the 17 caliber rod on.
Yeah. So I myself, I got 3 rods that I use on a regular basis, and I got a Pro Shot, and I got a Gun Slick, and then I have a Tipton rod. And funny thing is, and Justin and I experienced this just this year. This Pro Shot rod is supposed to be a 22 caliber rod, and my Tipton rod is also a 22 caliber rod. This rod would not push through Justin's CZ MTR, but my Tipton rod would. So there's a slight difference in them. So I was telling somebody on Georgia Shooting Connection tonight that I walked into a local gun store and they had a clearance table and they had cleaner rods. And I said, "How much are the cleaner rods?" And they said $1 a piece. It's like, I'll take them all. So I bought all of them. So, and I do use the patch worm that Justin was talking about. It's kind of like a piece of weed eater string, and it's got a sharp end on it. You stick it through your patch, push the string down from the chamber in through the barrel, and then you can pull the patch through, and it's basically just it's weed eater string is exactly what it is. Why I didn't come up with that ideal, I don't know, because I've worked on small engines all my life. So, but yeah, I use 3 different types of rods, and I use a patch worm. Only thing I use a bore snake on is my shotgun after I get done shooting trap. Um, so let's everybody type something in the side chat here, and we'll get Hillbilly to call off the side chat if he would. Justin, what do you think we should type in the side chat?
Maybe clean or not clean. I mean, their idea, whether to clean or not,
Clean or not?
That's going to be a typing test for Hillbilly.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I put a clean or not out there, and we'll call your name out on the YouTubes. See, first up we got Hasbro out there, and of course we got Kentucky Rimfire and Hobbies. We got Rustic Rimfire 22. We got Jason Mahoy, old one guy out there. Good to see everybody. Got Chris Lang. We got Fuku YT. Ron 2A Matters. And Ron actually started putting videos on his channel, so go over and check that out. And we got Vanessa Kitty, R4 Mississippi Thunder, and I'm sure we'll get some more in here. We got Michael 47.
34. Got 34 viewers tonight. Well, it just dropped to 31, but I appreciate everybody taking the time to jump on here and check out this new show. Just bear with us. We're new at it. We're trying to make a show of it. So
you betcha. We also got Long Rifle out there.
Said.
Too, Matt. Me, if I'm watching on the big screen like I usually do, I can't do chat at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to jump over on your phone or something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we got also got Chris Lang out there, which I think, yeah. Sure we didn't miss anybody. Yeah, we would blow those through with big air compressors and then fiber optic to make sure the line's clear. And we call it the mouse or the bullet.
Yep. Don't stand over the conduit and watch for it to come out, because it may shoot water first.
Oh, yeah. We also have Darwin Harris out there and Chris P.
That's my boy, Darwin.
Welcome everybody in the side chat. I appreciate y'all following along, and we had a lot of comments on there from people talking about what they use as well. And there's Rimfire Dave. He says, I clean rimfires a lot. So we'll move on to our next topic, jumping off of cleaning rods, and we're going to go into your brushes or jags that you use. Some people use nylon brushes, some use bronze brushes, and then there's also stainless steel brushes out there, which I don't use stainless steel, but we'll go with you, Justin. What
real quick, we just also had Mark Thomas and Derek Casey jump in too.
Oh, welcome, Mark and Derek. Mark Thomas said on the other show that his cleaning rod was a dowel rod that he keeps.
So
No,
your
he
question
said,
was, I came out and back in, had something happen there. So your question
uh,
was like, what kind of brushes do I use?
we're on your brushes. Uh, do you use nylon or stainless or bronze?
Okay. So, a lot of people are from the belief that a bronze brush is, detrimental to a borer. You fire copper bullets down a barrel, so how I don't see how that could be detrimental. Stainless steel, yeah, that's a little more hard, harder material. Stainless steel is a no for me. Um, I don't see that nylon is going to, be stiff enough to really do a whole lot. So I'm a bronze brush guy. I'm not afraid to use it, especially to try to get copper out or to get lead out of a rimfire.
What about you, Hasbro?
I definitely use bronze. I use a lot of nylon lately, especially when I'm working on carbon rings, unless I really have no choice, just because you're going to do a lot of brushing no matter what. Although, when we get to that point, I have a cleaner that's really helped me out. But yeah, I kind of use nylon more now, but I use bronze too. So I never use stainless. But you kind of think about that. A lot of those bronze brushes have stainless collars. They're not all aluminum, so you have to be careful when those things go into your rifle. You can tear things up from the collars on them. So.
Mike?
I've been using more nylon here lately, and I think it's kind of in part because what Has just said. It's not because I'm afraid of a bronze or a copper brush, but I've just gotten a little self-conscious of the. It seems like all the nylon are threaded into a brass screw-in piece of a rod, and I've just become conscious about that, trying to keep any type of a non-brass jag type thing going into the bore. So
Yeah, that's something I hadn't even paid attention to. I was just sitting here looking at some different brushes I have, and the nylons have a brass threads and crimp on them, and I got some bronze brushes that have, um, I guess that's stainless, and actually, it's got quite a bit of wear. It's got quite a bit of wear marks on it from where it's went up and down the barrel, so can't be good.
Was that the one you tried to hammer down Justin's bore?
Yeah, yeah. I cleaned your gun for you, Justin.
Yeah, I
for,
appreciate you.
for tomorrow's match.
Hammer.
Okay.
All right, George. What about you?
Brush wise, it's about all copper. Uh, I'll use a nylon now and then. I've got them both. Pro Shot, little All American deal there for 22. It's nylon. And then Pro Shot brushes. That's about all I use. Is the bronze brushes, because getting a carbon ring, trying to get it out with a plastic brush, good luck.
Yep. So, Hillbilly?
Yeah, it kind of depends on what time of year it is. If it's cold like right now and my hair's long, I'll use a brush. But in the summertime when it's short, I use a comb.
Can you reach that screen and slap him?
Yeah, no, mainly bronze. I think is pretty much all mine, and they're bronze. And
Hillbilly pushes a dingleberry through.
String of them, right? That's his snake, dingleberry.
So, and something I didn't talk about here in brushes, and we're just real quick around the room. I just purchased a brand new 22 caliber bronze brush because mine was getting in bad shape, and I bought it at Wally World, and it come with a mop. It's a brush and a mop for 22. So, do you guys use the mops, or do you just use patches, wet patches?
I use a mop.
When I'm
Justin?
doing carbon rings,
So,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Justin. Oh, you go ahead.
I very seldom use a mop. If I'm going long term storage, a rifle, something I don't shoot very often, like a safe queen or something, I may run an oily mop through, you know, but that's about the only time I use a mop. Or to dry out a chamber, like on a center fire, I may use like a 410 mop to, like after you pour out the bore guide, I may run a 410 mop in just to get all the solvent out of the chamber. That's the only time I use a mop.
I won't show you the brand, so I don't ruin your topic when you get there. But when I use this stuff, I use a mop because you want to just sit there and soak that carbon ring, and that holds it there pretty good. And so that's about the only time I use a mop. So
You, Mike.
I only use patches. I guess I've never paid any attention to mops. I've never bought a brush set that had one in it, so might be something I'll try.
So, real quick, I'll talk out of turn, but my problem with mops are how do you clean them? Because once you push them through a few times, they start getting pretty dingy looking. Um, so, I when I use a mop, it's if I have a carbon ring in my chamber, then I'll wet the mop, I'll push it into the chamber, and I'll let it set and soak. And then after it soaks, I'll push it on through, and then I'll bronze brush the barrel for so many passes, and then start using patches. But
So, Chad, that's exactly what I do. And if you see these two, they've been used 30, 40 times a piece, and they're not too dirty. But all I'm doing is after I have cleaned the barrel, then I soak these with a carbon remover just to do what you just talked about. So I don't use them for regular cleaning, just for soaking that stuff.
so, and just to go back to the last show I was on, which was Georgia Shooting Connection, CW Longshot said he cleans his mops out with carburetor cleaner, and he'll take them outside and spray them out and clean them, and then let them dry. So if you do get a filthy mop, that's a pretty good idea for cleaning them. I actually thought
That's
about
good.
sticking. I actually thought about sticking them in my ultrasonic cleaner and cleaning them. I don't know if that would. I don't know if that would work. But George, what about you? Do you use mops ever?
Only for the carbon ring, just like you fellas. And I'll give you a little tip. Brushes, bronze brushes, plastic brush, whatever you want to use, mops as well. Run you some hot water in the sink and put your little Dawn in there and just wash them around.
Yep.
I do that to them every time I use them. And they
Basically, any
last for
degreaser.
Hillbilly, what do you mop?
I'm in trouble with kitchen floor. But, anyway, I mainly, like I said, I've cleaned mine with carburetor cleaner before, but I use them in the shotguns quite a bit. I like to stick a little, CLP or whatever on there and pull them through there, and make sure that barrel's pretty decent. When I go to put them up and stuff, which might not really need to. Just I don't know. I've had shotguns before where we've been out shooting and just not really mess them at all and put them up, and then go get them out again, look down that barrel, and it's like, ooh, this needs a little oil or something in it, but like even after my deer rifle, some of that stuff, I'll still spray it down a little bit and just pull that mop through, and I just try mainly to try to keep from any rust or anything sitting in there.
So, moving on to the next topic, and this is something that I've never used. I did purchase one, and it was a Tipton model, but I found out that it didn't fit hardly anything that I wanted to use it in. So Justin over here turned me on to a different brand, and I just placed an order for 4 different ones yesterday, and yeah, each one of your 22 rifle chambers are different. So if you use a bore guide, what type of bore guide or brand do you use? And I'll go ahead and tell you, since I've already told you I've not been in the habit of using them, I ordered 4 Possum Hollow bore guides yesterday, and I had to have one for Winchester 52s. I had to have one for my Winchester 75, and then I got one for my Browning T-Bolt, and I got one for Savage rifles, and all of those are made different. But in the past, I have not used them, but after watching Justin and them use them on a regular basis, um, I'm going to start using them. So, Justin, we know you use them. What type do you use?
So I'll use Dewey bore guides and Possum Hollow. At one time, Midway sold their own brand of bore guides. They were like a blue Delrin. Most of them are either black Delrin or UMHW plastic. Some of them have solvent ports, some don't. Some you can add solvent ports to, but Dewey for the most part, or Possum Hollow.
Hasbro?
Well, I have Dewey and Possum Hollow, and some other ones I just like to throw away, and I will. Between those two, they work perfect, and they really. You get a lot of them that just want to slide out when you're using them, and it gets annoying, and then trapping the solvent. But the Dewey and Possum Hollow both I've been pretty happy with. But definitely any bolt action, almost any bolt action gun, I don't clean them pretty much without that. So.
Hasbro, I used to powder coat in my oven, but after I got married, I had to buy me a little toaster oven that's for powder coating.
I've got that, and I have an oven in the shop. So,
all right, Mike, what about you?
Never used one.
Never used one.
Nope. Don't know what you're talking about.
So it goes. You take your bolt out, and it goes through the back of your action. And when you push your cleaner rod through, it ensures that the cleaner rod goes straight through the barrel and it don't flex and bow. And they're kind of built like a tray at the ejection port. So like when you're pushing through into the barrel, any solvent that squeezes out, it goes into the bore guide. It don't like run down your gun and get all over your stock and all that. So it helps with not making a mess too. So George, do you use any bore guides?
I have an extensive collection of bore guides. This is just a few of them.
Yeah.
One for the PPC, one for the BR. That's like that blue one that Justin was talking about. It's from Midway, from back, Jesus, I don't know, mid-90s, I guess.
Yeah.
Got an Anschutz for the Anschutz. It's made by Anschutz. The Kimber, I had to make one. I got a little lathe, and I made one on the lathe for the Kimber. And yeah, absolutely bore guides.
So I see Rimfire Dave's question. In your opinion, what does a bore guide do for you? And I guess I just told that, but I watched your video, Rimfire Dave, and I know you said that you know enough to watch what you're doing when you put it in there, and you don't have to use one. And that's the way I've been all my life. Is when my dad taught me how to clean a gun back in when I started squirrel hunting as a young lad, he taught me how to clean the gun, and there was no bore guide mentioned. So I've went my whole life without using bore guides, but I like the idea of them, especially on these more expensive rifles that you're trying to protect the chamber and all that, and make sure that that rod goes in exactly how it needs to go, and it just, like I said, it cuts down on the mess too. So uh,
Yeah, Chad,
Hillbilly,
let's say, Chad, you talk about that. When we clean those carbon rings, to me, that's when you really want a bore guide, because you're doing a lot of strokes right in that area, right?
Yeah, right.
Hillbilly, I think I already know the answer to this, but do you use a bore guide?
No. No, I don't. But one time we took a trip to Texas to hog hunt, and I did then. But that's about it.
Do they make them for High Point?
No, High Points don't need bore guides. You don't even need to clean them things. They just shoot,
Oh Lordy. I'll send you the dimensions here, Billy. You can whittle one out, okay?
All right. You put some
Question
extra
Dave
holes
asked
in it
there.
and play it as a whistle too when you're not using it.
So the next topic I want to bring up is something I've never used. And well, here's Rimfire's Dave's answer. Keeps the rod straight and keeps the cleaning solution from entering the trigger group. Yep. So um the next thing I want to talk about is something that I've never used, but since I've gotten into this 2A community here on YouTube, I've heard it mentioned several times, and I would like to know more about it. And that is boar paste. Have you ever used boar paste? And what was the purpose and what did it do for you? Justin, I see you holding up a can of boar paste there, so tell us about it.
So this is JB Boar Compound. Um, I think it's a product of Brown Ales. Um, it's real good for removing um, like tool marks in a new rifle, maybe to during barrel break-in process. You can smooth out everything. Um, real good for removing copper. If you copper foul a center fire out, um, Boar Compound will definitely remove copper or lead. Um, if you're doing like a thorough deep clean, JB Boar Paste is really good for that. Or maybe if you buy a rifle off the used rack, maybe quit shooting for somebody. You can do a real thorough deep clean with Boar Paste, and you might bring that rifle back to life.
Hasbro, have you used boar paste or?
Yeah, I've used it for that very reason, right on a new rifle that had some rifling marks. But most recently, I had to use it, and it really kind of ticked me off. I have an Excalibur custom barrel made for my 6.5 Creedmoor, and it shoots well enough, but 3-4 inches past the chamber there for about the next 6 or so, it'll lay down copper like crazy, and it's polished and really nice inside. It's not like, I don't know if it's got something dimensionally going with it, but to get that copper out, I'm telling you what, I've tried everything. I ended up using boar paste and then finished off with boar polish. And even that was probably 100 strokes trying to get this stuff out. That's a lot. And so just to get the copper out, or on a new rifle occasionally.
Mike?
No, have never used it. I've seen it and heard about it. I just kind of am of the old school belief that I just keep putting a little bit more lead or a little bit more fouling, and it'll smooth itself out. Um, it's just the way I was brought up. The people that helped me along coming up, and that's what I bought into. So
I'm going to guess that George has used it because I've heard him talk about doing a little bit of gunsmithing on some of his firearms. So, George, have you used bore paste? Or
It's one of my go-tos. Just like Justin Hadbro, same way. I mean, I use it for copper and just really good to get the carbon ring out, and just for polishing, like the first few inches of the bore is really good. But yeah, I use it a lot. And one thing, let me say, the cleaning rod deal, why you want to use it, the bore guide, I mean, your cleaning rod is doing this every time you stroke it, right? And what that's going to end up doing is fish mouthing your chamber end. That rod sliding against it. Doesn't matter if your rod's coated or not. When you push that rod through and that rod comes back, you're bringing dirt and grime back through and rubbing the edges of that chamber mouth and just sanding on it. That's why you use a bore guide.
Hillbilly, I can't wait to hear this answer.
We can't either.
Well, he just found out that he can use JB Weld.
So he's put that on a toothbrush, Hillbilly. Try that out.
Remove plaque.
Yeah, there's lots of things I was thinking about saying, but it's such a slow pitch softball that, like, I'll just let it go. But no, I really haven't used it. I've seen my grandpa use it, back in the day a little bit. But no, I've personally not used it.
All right. Well, so far we have decided to clean or not to clean. And we've talked about our process. We've talked about the jags we use and the brushes and whether or not we use bronze or nylon. We've talked about the use of bore guides. Also polishing with bore paste. And now that we've got the gun clean, we're got it clean and polished, and we're happy with it. Next thing is, what do you use to wipe down the exteriors of your rifles? This could be the wood, synthetic, and also the outer part of the barrel, bolt knob, scope. What do you apply to the outside of the gun before you put it away? Justin?
Okay. So I like G96. I think it's a Pro Shot product. It smells so good. It smells like bubble gum. It really enriches, like blue guns. It really makes the blue and pop on them. I use that on the outside, especially long-term storage, or like the once a year go through the safe and clean your guns. Try not to get it on the wood very much. Try not to get any kind of oil on wood. I use a silicone gun cleaning cloth on the wood if I do wipe down the wood. Rim oil makes a treated cloth, a rag. That's a really good product too. Use that sometimes too.
Hasbro, what do you wipe down with?
The last patch that goes to the bore will be clean with oil, and I'll wipe down the outside of the barrel and the action all just lightly with that. And then when it comes to the wood, depends on the stock. If it's one I've refinished, sometimes I'll put a little bit of that on there. But if it's an older finish, then it's silicone. And same thing with the scope. If I clean the scope, it'll be a light oil silicone at most up there. But the outside of the barrel, pretty much like this Lucas stuff that I use is a synthetic gun oil. I'll just wipe down the outside of the barrel. And then, but when I don't know if everybody does the same thing. When I store them, all my good rifles, not the BB guns, but all my good rifles are in safes that are with the golden rods and desiccant dryers in them, right? So I try to keep everything going in my favor, and I don't have any rust issues at all.
Mike?
So for the outside, I'm kind of the same as what Hasbro said. I don't clean a lot with pat or with brushes and stuff. I'll run a patch or two through, but usually I just take a patch and I spray some of what I use internally on this my guns, which is called this super quick clean gun, kind of a solvent lube stuff, and that's what I wipe all the the blued surfaces down with. And then as far as like I don't really have anything except my Stevens collections that have wood stocks, and I use a lemon oil. I've got like a dusting cloth that we clean other woodwork around the house that I don't put any more on it, but it's always a little bit tacky or moist with it, and I just rub that over the woodwork on my vintage rifles.
George?
It depends. If it's a gun that I'm using pretty often, I use, like Hasbro, use the Lucas gun oil, just wipe them down with it. I mean, I ain't afraid of using 3-in-1 oil. I've used it many a times. But as far as putting them away, I wipe them off really good and use Renaissance wax. I use it on scopes, and especially the U-Nurdles. It makes them look really good. And then I'll put them in a sock after that. That's a whole nother thing, whether you want to use a sock or not. But I use the socks mainly to keep the guns from beating up against each other.
Hillbilly, are you going to relate? Are you going to relate to your brother-in-law there?
Tommy boy. I think that'll work, buddy. Oh man. Always growing up, we just use a little rim oil or 3-in-1, and is mainly most usually like on an old pair of wore out socks or something, that's clean. Anymore, I like to either use Lucas or Aegis. I do use a lot of Aegis gun cleaning stuff. Their oil and their cleaner, I've had really good luck with it. And so, a lot of times I'll put a little drop of Aegis on a patch and wipe everything down. And then, a good old wooden stock, wipe a little Murphy's oil on there.
Yeah. Hey, Chad,
So,
one thing on that is we should probably tell, for those that may not know, the number one oil to never use on a firearm, WD-40. It has a solvent that will take off finishes. It'll take off finishes. And if you leave it in the gun, it'll gum up. And ask me how I know, because in the 50s, this was a great thing to do. My father had a Sweet 16 Browning. He said, here, go out and shoot it. And I'm shooting it like 3 shots. It stops. I mean, just locked up, and it was gummed up with WD-40. So it had to be a complete teardown to get it all out of there. So yeah. WD-40 is bad news.
I believe it also has water content in it too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I don't know, maybe.
Well, I know one time where I worked, we had a bunch of gates and they had padlock keys on them, and we went out there. It was cold and something to do, and we sprayed those with WD-40 and they all froze. You had to take a heater out there to warm them up. But
well, it'll gum up, right? It'll definitely gum up.
Yeah, I used to, when I was younger, I liked WD-40 as the old formula, but I don't think the new WD-40 is any count. So I'm like Justin. I use the G96 spray a light coat on a rag, and I wipe down all the metal. And actually, I have seen this stuff. I purchased a gun that had a little rusty spot on the barrel, and I soaked this in a rag and wrapped the rusty spot. And the next morning, I come back with some double aught steel wool, and it wiped right off. The rusty spot did. So I mean, if you can let this stuff set on some rust, it will eat it off. Um, that's a really good product, and it smells really good. Now, on the other hand, I know everybody don't want to see this, but I I do use Ballistol on occasion, and it does smell like dirty feet. But if you want to slick a gun up and make it look good and presentable to sell, that's some good stuff. But
I
no,
use it.
I don't use it a lot.
It stinks, but yeah.
Yeah. So lastly, we're clean. We've wiped down the outside of the gun. Um, lubrication points. What what points do you lubricate? For instance, I'll go first. I always put a drop of oil on my locking lugs on the bolt, and if it's a automatic, then I try to put a dab or two of lube on the. You can tell where the main wear parts are inside the action, where the most friction happens. I'll try to put a little dab of oil in there, and I use Lucas gun oil for that. So if after you're done cleaning, guys, what's your lubrication points and what do you use for lubrication? Justin?
I guess Pro Shop gun grease on my bolt lugs, whether it be center fire or rimfire. Um, Lucas gun oil or um, Wilson Combat made a gun oil back years ago. I still have some of. It's like a red tinted color. Um, use that a lot on semi-autos.
I think Hasbro traded spots with you, Mike. You want to go next?
Okay. I thought
What's that?
I couldn't hear all the sound was gone, and so
Oh,
I was just being quiet. He's not used to that. Go ahead, Mike.
so any of the metal parts, moving parts of the bolt, I put a drop or two on bolt actions. If it's a semi-auto, an AR style, I smother all the internal parts of uh, the bolt with the oil, and the oil I use it goes by a bunch of different names, but it's a mix of some Dextron, some 30 weight, some Hoppies. The claim to fame on this is that this is what the Quantico Marine Corps shooting team uses as a lube on all of their firearms out there. And I've had really good luck with this year round, never having stuff freeze up with it in it. It can just deal with all kinds of different temperatures. And it's a mix of automotive stuff. And the beauty is if you and I didn't make this. I've got a friend that made it, and then he had these bottles and bottled it all up. And then everybody at the gun club had a 2-year supply all of a sudden, because you use like a quart of Dextron, a thing of Hoppies number 9. If you look it up online, you can find it. It's Marine Corps red oil, and there's a bunch of stories that go about it. Essentially, that's what it is. It's that. But you can't get that anymore.
Yep. That's an old bottle, and it's about the ink's about gone, but that's what that is. So.
Yep. This is just a homemade version of it.
Yep. It's red.
It's red.
Yeah,
George.
So,
Well, it depends. I don't. I use Lucas Pro Shot Gold for most everything. I use it on locking lugs, on my center fires, and my rim fires. It's just really good stuff. I also use Mobile One high pressure. It's really good. I mean, in a pinch, I'll use Duralube, if I ain't got nothing else. but I always keep my lugs well greased. As far as places that I oil, I put some oil on the firing pin springs, and just a little bit at that, not much. That's pretty much it. About everything I run dry, especially automatics. And what little bit I do use, I use Lucas. I got a bottle of it over. It's Lucas lubricant.
What about you, Hasbro?
When I shoot bolt action, right, I'll put a drop back on the extractor, a drop on the firing pin. But typically, what I'll do is then use compressed air and blow it into it just a little bit. If I don't take the bolt all the way down, right, just before a match, I'll make sure there's no issue. Semi-auto, I'm kind of use more oil there on the Rugers just because they'll foul up. And then the one I soak with oil when I shoot it, and this is something taught to me by bullseye shooting when I was done that. I shoot a Ruger Mark III target in that for the 22 side. They even put oil on top of the first couple rounds in your magazine. They soak them with oil so you don't have reliability issues. I'm not so sure it helps in accuracy, but it's more about keeping them running when you have to keep running. But generally, I'm kind of like Georgia. I mean, I put very little oil. Some on the bolts, some on the lug, I should say, a little bit on the bolt back there where I said, and try not to put too much in there. Semi-autos, it's going to get filthy. So,
Billy, when you're done cleaning your gun, what do you lubricate it with, and what points do you lubricate?
Well, they got some stuff out on the internet now. I hadn't tried it yet, but it's called something like P. Diddy or something like that. I don't know, lube. I don't know. But, I don't know. Let me know if anybody tries that.
Not the right kind of lube, Hillbilly.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
that's my.
It said something about your bolt and stuff. I don't know. I wasn't for sure. I didn't read all the
There
details.
goes the PG rating.
But
do you need a special bore guide for that?
Don't get Scotsman going again.
Oh man. I said that's the kind of get you arrested. Okay. Yeah. No, most usually like just pretty much refer to what everybody said. A little bit like on the bolt action, a little bit back there on the bolt, locking lugs, and a few things like that. Like again, I've been using the Aegis quite a bit. It's got a really nice small needle applicator, so you can get right in there and just do a little bitty drop, and stuff. Yeah, I mean, in the past we've used, all kinds of stuff, 3-in-1 oil, whatever, but yeah, I think that's about it. I don't think I have anything new that anybody else had never answered. So.
All right, guys. Well, that pretty much wraps up tonight's discussion on cleaning. That's all the bullet points that I had. Does anybody in the panel got anything they'd like to add to their cleaning process before we go around the room and close? Or
we didn't talk about solvents at all. That's a deep.
What
deep
solvents you
subject.
use? Oh, yeah. Well, that's important. But so we'll go around the room real quick then, and we'll talk about what we use as far as solvents. And I'll go ahead and start us off. I use for my 22s, I use the Ed's Red, and my dad and I, we mix up a gallon of this at a time, and we split it. And I will soak the barrel with that, and with the wet patches, I'll let it set, then I'll brush it, and then after I run the Ed's Red through there, if I'm still getting some dirty patches, then I use this foam cleaner, which is Hoppy's Elite, and I'll push that through until I get the barrel clean. And then I always check my barrel after cleaning with a bore scope, I have a test long bore scope that I'll push through the bore and make sure it's satisfactory. Then for more center fire stuff, that's copper jacketed, I use the Pro Shot copper solvent. Um,
Number 4.
yeah, number 4. And that's really the only 3 solutions I use. I do have some hoppies over here. I don't use it that often because I really Ed's Red's my go-to. It's really cheap to make. It works really well, and that's that's usually what I use the most of. So, Justin,
I'll be kind of quick with it. So center fire, I use butches. It's pretty good for removing copper. If the barrel's copper fouled, I may use Sweet 762. It's like a real strong ammonia based cleaner that you don't want to leave in the gun very long, but it will absolutely. You take a gun you think is clean, and you run some patches of sweets through it, and they'll come out blue. But rimfires, I use a Montana Extreme rimfire solvent. It's actually what the U.S. Olympic shooting team's using, so we'll do what they do. It seems to be a really good rimfire solvent. It has, it's formulated for rimfire. I think Bortec makes a rimfire solution that's specifically formulated for rimfire. To remove lead, I use Shooter's Choice lead remover. In the same way, like I said, with sweets, you think you have a gun that's clean. You can patch it out to where you think it's clean with the Montana Extreme. And then you can run some patches of lead remover through, and you're going to be picking up lead. So that's the products I use.
Mike.
I pretty much only use this one thing against this uh, uh, super quick clean guns that I got turned on to by the guy that made the bore snakes or the gun mouse. Uh, you can find the gun mouse on this guy's website, and to where I buy this stuff by the gallon, then refill these. I was a big CLP and all the other military things, for cleaning and unfouling stuff. And I found that this is my go-to. I love this stuff. So uh, again, I don't deep clean, so I've never played around really with anything else. I rarely look in a bore, and up until recently, I didn't have a bore scope that had a quality enough camera on it to tell if I had an issue going on, frankly, anyhow. So I might start looking more serious at that because I know it has something, but I've shot barrels out to where, and maybe they weren't shot out, but with 5,000-6,000 rounds through it, and then I decided to change them out. I don't know if it had anything to do with the buildup that was in it or it was just shot out. So, but that's what I've done. So.
What about you, George?
A little bit of everything. For the most part, what I use the most, I guess, is Birchie Casewood gun scrubber. It's about as good as anything, just for standard fouling. I've used it all, and really, when it comes to just standard fouling, all of it's pretty good. Butches, like Justin was talking about, I really like butches. I use Montana Extreme Copper if I've got bad copper, or the Sweets 762 like Justin was talking about. But you got to watch that stuff, like he said. You leave it in there too long,
yeah,
it's real stout. But it'll get it done, brother. It'll get it done. But yeah, Birchie Casewood, just for standard cleaning, is about as good as anything. Gun scrubber.
Hasbro.
Well, I use a variety of stuff for powder solvents and stuff. I pretty much use Hoppy's number 9. I mean, it's like it works. And I got big jugs of it, So I'll use that. But when I get into copper, it'll be shooters or Vortec. And anymore, when I get into carbon, I've tried a lot of them. That's the one I was holding up, so I'll show you now. Not trying to sell it for them, but that stuff changed my life on getting copper rings or carbon rings out. I mean, it was by far better than anything I've ever used. And so that's the three I use. I'll start with Hoppies, and then if I'm getting copper, shooters or Vortec, and then that for the carbon ring.
Hillbilly.
Yeah, man. I over years has used CLP, stuff like that. I've used Aegis, their cleaner, quite a bit, and I've been, really happy with that stuff. So, Hoppies, definitely have used Hoppies several times. So, yeah, nothing new here, I don't think.
Yep. So now I think we've pretty much covered it all. And we're coming up on an hour and a half, which is my goal. And I know Mike said he wanted to leave at about an hour. I want to say I appreciate everybody coming on to the panel tonight. I appreciate everybody's interactions in the side chat. And just a quick note, my email is pinned here at the bottom of the screen. I will gladly accept ideals about topics for this show. So if you want to email me, feel free to do so. Tell me what you'd like to see here. We'll try to put it together, make it happen. I know earlier I saw a comment about scopes would be a good topic, and that's one item that we're coming up on real soon. So I guess my thinking on this was our last show we talked about how we got here, what got us started. Now we're talking about our cleaning process, and now we're going to move on and start talking about our choice in rifles for, I guess, specific types of shooting, your optic selections. There's all triggers. There's all kinds of things to talk about. So moving forward next week, we'll come up with a new topic, but I'd love to hear y'all's suggestions. Just drop me an email. Again, I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll just go around the room. And Mike, since you need to jump out pretty soon, I'll let you go first if you want to talk about what you got coming up on your channel. And again, I appreciate you setting us up with your buddy over there in Minnesota. And I appreciate you sharing the green mouse with us, and also the Marine Corps red oil. I've made notes of that stuff, and I think is the Marine Corps red oil, is that basically reds? Is that the same stuff, or
It's yes and no, but what you're using is the solvent version of it that has the solvents in it. This is strictly a lubricant. And there's also a paste that you can make using some grease and adding some things to it, and then this becomes a decent grease for like your bolt lugs when it really gets cold out here and you want to put a little of this on instead. I don't use this that often, but it's something else to answer your question on the reds. Um, uh, Real quick, one thing I wanted to mention or ask everybody here before I jumped off, actually, about the it popped in my head talking about the guides, and that is, I don't know what everybody else does, but when I run a brush or a patch through from the breech end to the muzzle, I unthread the brush or the patch and pull it off, and I pull the rod back through. So I don't do this number in my bores. Does everybody else, or does anybody else do that? Because of that reason, because I know that's going to create flex by doing it, and I don't scrub bores. So I am always just doing a direct pushing it through. Just like to hear everybody else's thought. If you want to know what's coming up on the channel, watch the channel.
Yeah, so check out Mike over at Long Rifle on YouTube, and he also has a website called MN Shooting Sports. Um, he posts some targets over there, so you can print targets and shoot his targets, and he's got some pretty cool ones out there, some challenge targets, um, and yeah, we'll move on to Justin, and Justin, you can tell us what you got going on besides working me at the range.
Yeah, we got plenty of range improvements going on, but we got a rimfire match tomorrow. We don't have to cancel for wind. Hopefully, we get that match in. Just want to go back in the weeds on bore guides just for a quick second. One major advantage of a bore guide, kind of answering Rimfire Dave's question, is protecting your rod. If that rod's going through waving like George was saying, you're going to take the coating off that rod. So that bore guide protects your rod a lot too, not only the chamber but the rod. But
Right.
that's basically all I had to add. And
that gets into that abrasive nature inside those carbon rods too. You want to protect that rod.
Yeah, you don't want to take the coating off your rod. And having a rod that is caliber specific, don't use a 17 rod in a 30 cal. When you push all the way through, it's going to fall down, and then you're going to catch the crown coming back out. Try to keep that rod diameter fairly close to the bore diameter, and it'll keep from having that problem of messing up your crown.
Yeah, and Mike, I didn't answer that when I was talking there a while ago. I don't never pull anything back towards the chamber, so I take the patch off, drop it in a bucket at the end of the barrel, and then I thread my jag off and ease my rod back through, and then I reapply it and push it through again. So, and again, everybody's different in these processes. So, what about you, George?
What was the question?
Well, we're talking about what you got coming up on your channel and anything you want to plug. And then Mike asked about when you push your rod through out the end of the barrel, do you thread your attachment off and then pull the rod back through, or do you just pull everything back through?
Well, if it depends on the jag. Most jags that I use have a degree built into them where you can pull them back through the bore and not worry about hanging it on the crown. But a lot of jags are sharp, and when you pull them back through, there's a chance of them catching on that crown. Got to be bad careful about that. But as far as brushes go, it depends. If it's a new brush, I'll usually just push them straight through. When they get a little bit wore, I'll pull them back. That's just me, though. As far as anything coming up, I got some, as soon as the weather will let me, I got some of these rimfire countries to do, and some I have rode, some of Mike's and everything. I got a lot of 22s to do.
Hasbro, what about you?
Well, as far as I'm kind of like what George said, when I go through the bore, I do pull them back. I take the patch off typically, unless it's clean. But all of my jags have that back angle, so it can't catch, because that crown is a precious thing, right? Once you screw that up, it's a bad day. And if they don't, I'll chuck them up in a drill, and I have a drill press, and I'll take a file and I'll make my own chamfer so they can't hang up coming back. That's critical. If you don't do that, then yeah, you're gonna pay sooner or later. Coming up, well, this kind of stuff. I've got this finishing up. We're going to finish it up Monday, and I'm thinking with this huge storm going through, I may finish it at the end of the week, shooting the St. Patrick's Day stuff. That's the 25-yard and 50-yard target. Just because I want to get out and shoot some more of my rifles. I've got to the range one time, the outdoor range, and I need to shoot some more of these because I enjoy. It's not just because it's my target. I enjoy that target. It's a lot of fun to shoot, and it's quite a challenge. And so We'll see. At most, we'll go to this weekend, and then Hillbilly, I'll talk to you about the week later or whatever you want to do about. We'll have a big raffle and giveaway at the end of that for everybody that participates. If you guys haven't seen that, as long as you shoot, I don't care what your score is. Hillbilly turned in a negative one last time. As long as you shoot, you're going to be put into a drawing to win some pretty cool stuff. And so Nibs and I have some stuff. Jason Mahoy has been out there in the side chat, is giving away some really nice knives. And I'll talk about that tomorrow night on Hillbilly's show and show these things. But he sent me 4 knives to give away. It's really cool. So anyway, that's what we got coming up. We'll be finishing this up this next week. And then I'll be just shooting other people's challenge probably the next month or so or two, and trying to catch up on other challenges.
Billy, before you take your turn in closing, how did I get sideways? Are you jacking with me?
No, I was asking why he's all sideways with us. I thought maybe he's mad at us or something.
This show has gone sideways.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I thought Hillbilly might have been jacking with me. Since he
Probably is.
No, brother.
Hillbilly hijinks.
Done anything? I assume it's like a phone. You got, it's turned and.
It's my iPad. My iPad's never moved.
Oh, really? There you go.
I'm back.
Wow.
So maybe it just needed a reboot.
The other angle was thinning.
Oh yeah, trim it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, there. Anybody interested in a Kentucky Rimfire and Hobbies shirt? It's got the same logo on the back. Get at me in the email. I get these printed locally, and they're fairly reasonable. So if anybody's interested in supporting the channel and having a shirt, just drop me an email. Let me know. We'll work something out. So, Hillbilly, what you got in closing?
Oh man, of course we got Guns Bearing Therapy coming up tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. If you ain't done anything, swing by and visit us. And I got some videos definitely coming up. It's just been so windy this week. Hadn't been able to get much done outside at the range. But anyway, and don't forget to go over and check out Elijah at Day of the Range. We talked about it last week and stuff. There's a challenge there you can go do and tag Elijah in it at Day of the Range. And hopefully he's getting quite a bit of joy out of this, and what a great community come through and support that, and put a smile on the big guy's face, hopefully. But yeah, that's about it, buddy. Appreciate you having us on and doing this. This is an awesome show. Great side chat, man. Awesome side chat out there.
So yeah, the side chat's asking about stickers, and Hasbro's asking about tumblers. I kind of stumbled up on a one-stop shop. So I got some shirts made, and I had these made just for myself to see how they come out. And I really like the shirts, and I've sold some locally, but I haven't sold any online yet. And the lady's actually working on making me a sample tumbler. She's making me some window decals, a license plate, and she also makes air fresheners, like the little Realtree air fresheners, but it's a square and it's got my logo on it. So I ordered a variety of things to try them out. So I do have some swag coming. So
you get those
send those air fresheners to Hillbilly. His green room really needs them bad.
Yeah, get some that smells like Hoppies number 9. Yeah.
They make them. They seriously make them.
Yep. So, guys, I really appreciate y'all getting on here. I think we got up into the 30s as far as viewers. We're sitting at about 22 right now. I really appreciate that. I appreciate all the interaction in the side chat. I appreciate the panel. Just feel free to send me an email and let me know topics that you'd like to see, and we'll try to cover them for you. And I'm looking forward to our next Friday night with Let's Talk Benchrest with Kentucky Rimfire and Hobbies. And I got a video I dropped today, and I got a couple more that I got to get edited. And I've slowed down on the video making, and that's because of storage space on the iPad. So I'm having to like make one, upload it, delete everything, make another. So it's kind of a process. And I thought I had it figured out, Hillbilly, but
Oh no.
it's a nightmare. But I'm working through it though. But
You get you an external drive, Chad.
Yep.
yes, I do have external storage now. So like I said, I'm working on getting my iPad cleaned back up to where I can go back at it. And
Good.
well, guys, that's it for tonight. Join us next week. Same time, same place. I appreciate every one of you. Thanks for joining us on here at Let's Talk Benchrest, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Not all.
See y'all. Have a good evening.
Be good, boys.